All right, this is the equations review. We're going to go through a couple different types of equations to prepare you for this final exam. So let's start with two-step equations. All right, I'm going to remind you that we always like to divide the equation into two equal sides. So whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So our goal is to get x by itself. That means I need to get rid of this 12. Well, since it's a positive 12, the opposite sign would be to subtract 12 because 12 plus negative 12 is 0. That leaves me with 1/2 x on the left. I'm going to bring my calculator in here. Negative 10 minus 12 gives me negative 22. Now, whenever I have a fraction in front of a letter, to solve that, I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So that would be 2/1. Those are gone. We're left with x. So we're going to multiply this side by 2, which would give us an answer of negative 44. Now, to do the check, I'm going to remind you that we are going to rewrite the problem exactly how we start. We're going to replace the x value with negative 44. And then we're going to use PEMDAS to solve. So I'm going to take 1/2 times negative 44. That gives me negative 22. Then we're going to add the 12 to that, which gives me negative 10. So since negative 10 equals negative 10, that works. All right, the next type of equation we're going to do is called combining like terms. So if you notice when we separate that into two equal sides, you have two terms with x's. They're on the same side, so we're going to add those together. 2x plus 3x is 5x. So now we're going to add 15 to both sides. So 5x equals negative 30 plus 15 is negative 15. We're going to divide both sides by 5. So negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. So that should be my answer. I'm going to check it just to make sure. So let's rewrite the problem. We're going to replace x with negative 3. And then we're going to use PEMDAS to solve. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Negative 6 and negative 9 is negative 15. I'm just going to bring my calculator in here. We have negative 15 minus 15, which is negative 30. And it checks. All right, and moving on to the next page, we have the distributive property. This is where we have a number in front of a set of parentheses. And when that's the case, we're going to multiply the number on the outside by everything on the inside. So negative 4 times 2x is negative 8x. Negative 4 times negative 8 is positive 32. Now we want to solve for x, so we're going to subtract 32 from both sides. So we have negative 8x on the left. 40 minus 32 is positive 8. Now to solve for x, we're going to divide both sides by negative 8. So 8 divided by negative 8 is negative 1. All right, the check for this, we're still going to rewrite the problem as we started with. We're going to replace x with negative 1. And then we're going to follow PEMDAS, which means we need to start inside the parentheses. So 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Then we still have negative 2 minus 8. I'm going to bring my calculator in to do that. And I get negative 10. Negative 4 times negative 10 is positive 40. So that means it checks because 40 is equal to 40. All right, and the last question, these are our word problems. These are super important. If you remember when we did these in class way back in this module, we talked about how there was always a number with a letter, a number without a letter, and a total. That's usually the case. Let's read this question and see if that's the case here. An online greeting card lets you type 30 characters per line, D lines, we don't know how many lines, and then 20 on the last line. Write an equation that will determine how many lines you can type if the total is 200. So let's start with our let statement. We're going to let D, they already determined that that is D. equal, what don't we know? We don't know how many lines there are, so this would be the number of lines that we can type. All right, so we know it's 30 characters per line. We just don't know how many lines there are, so we call that 30D. Plus, on the last line, it's 20 no matter what, which is equal to a total of 200 characters. Now we can solve this. Subtract 20 from both sides. So 30D is equal to 180. We're going to divide both sides by 30. So 180 divided by 30 is not 60, it's 6. So that means there can be 6 lines, actually 7, because that last line has the 20 characters, so 7 altogether. Now let's just do a quick check, make sure. So 30 times 6, that's 180. 180 plus 20 is 200, which is equal to 200, so that does work. All right, that's a little overview of equations. Now I'd like you to try that homework.